Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to get inspired as we welcome the visionary goal strategist, mastermind, and media personality behind the DEB Method, Deb Eckerling. Thanks for joining us, Deb.
Okay, I'll make gold star for each and every one of us because we managed to be live and actually communicate. So,
Deb, I can't wait to get into this. Is this book number 2 for you?
It's my second traditionally published book. I self-published 2 before. And Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, which came out in January 2020, 6 weeks before the world got changed by circumstance. Originally, I was going to self-publish that one. And then I met an agent and he said, Deb, what is your goal? And I said to be the first person people think of when they hear the word goal. And he said, well, send me your book proposal. Let's get it out in the world. So that's when I went from I love my first 2 books, I really love that to be in a position where goals are way more accessible because we were talking about this before. You can't change the world, but you can change yourself. You can set goals and move forward on your project. So I am actually, believe it or not, the solution to all of the angst in the world. Because when you set goals and you work on things that you love, you can let that joy leak into the other parts of your life.
You know what's great is that if you were to have read that, if anybody else would read that statement that you just made, they would go, wow, she really thinks a lot about herself. But coming from you and hearing it and seeing you say that, it's like, I believe you. I believe you're the key to all of this. It's true. It's like so many people, they want to change these things that they don't have any control over. And all they're doing is frustrating themselves. And so talk to us about what the DEB Method is, right? How does it differ from like other maybe goal setting techniques?
Well, it is better. No, I mean, yes.
Okay. Well, we do know that. Okay.
And this is the thing really. So I've been leading goal groups and helping people with goal strategy and projects for years. But the difference between what I do and perhaps other goal setting experts is they're all about the end, the carrot. Right. I believe you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. So for me, Deb, it's all about setting the foundation for your goals. So DEB stands for determine your mission, explore your options, brainstorm your path. So determine your mission. You can't get what you want unless you know what that is. When you think about that life you want, what does that look like? Explore your option is great. You know that this is who you are and what you have to offer the world, but what does that look like? What are you going to create to put that out in the world? What are you going to do? So that's all about exploring what your goals mean for you. And then brainstorm your path is kind of putting everything out there and dividing and conquering and turning that life you desire into reality. So, Deb. And it is goal setting simplified because changing your life is challenging enough. I made the instructions really, really easy.
We love a good acronym, and when you keep stuff simple for knuckleheads like Jim and I, like we just slurp it up. That's amazing. So it's D, determine your mission, E, explore your options, and B, brainstorm your path. Okay, I can tell you I have problems with all 3 of these right now, Deb. So this is gonna be amazing for me.
Excellent.
Because I'm just gonna make it all about myself. No. A lot of times, especially with someone whose mind goes all over the place, right? They are like, gosh, I just can't get anything done. I have all, and so what they do is they sit down and they make a to-do list, right? And so they're like, oh, that's a good idea. Let me just make a to-do list, right? Well, that never worked out. It didn't work out for me because, then you end up multitasking and you get nothing done. You get a little bit of everything done, right? You just end up just not really organizing yourself. And then I read this book called The One Thing. Have you read this book?
I've not. But
okay, so it's a total anti-multitasker kind of thing, where you just really you have to focus on this one thing. And I was like, okay, this is me, right? This is life changing. Then I felt like I didn't get enough done. So
because you only did one thing.
Right. I don't even know if I got that one thing done. So for someone like myself that does that, and I know our audience has a lot of these people that do that. How can they even just hit pause on everything to do this, to set themselves this goal of what they want to achieve?
Okay, so the first thing before you do any Deb stuff is think about your wins. And so, and we're still the beginning of the year-ish, right? What win are you celebrating from last year? What is that thing that you accomplished? It could be personal, professional, a little bit of both, but start with that bit of joy. Amp yourself up, get excited about what you've accomplished, because then you could use that energy in figuring out your next steps.
I love that. I don't think I do that enough. I think that's like the perfect answer, because you're just like, once you get those wins, it's like you don't pause to celebrate, right? And so it's almost like you forget about them.
Right. And so, Deb, you start with, when you think about that life you want, what does that look like? Well, start with what you've already accomplished and use that energy. And then, even if you want to skip ahead, think about this time next year. What do you want to be celebrating? Because that can really help you get into that visualization. So I've accomplished this. Yay, wow, go me. A year from now, I'm excited because I'm going to be celebrating whatever that next thing is.
Did you use the Deb method?
And Chris is thinking of like, okay, Chris, so what was your big win from last year?
My big win. See, this is my thing. I mean, I think it's hard for me to actually, to go, this is my big win. Like I have I got a couple of clients that I enjoy, right? That I use for my video and podcasting production business. So I don't know if we call them big, right? But I mean, those are wins that I should have celebrated maybe a little bit more, as opposed to just like, let's race to onboard them and then just keep muscling through everything.
Well, Chris, I think your big win, one of your big wins was your website. Completely revamped that. Okay.
See, I need a Jim to remind me of my big wins here, Deb.
And I think a win for us as a team was our YouTube channel got monetized. We didn't expect that, right? And I don't know, to your point, that we necessarily celebrated it much. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow.
So next question, a year from now, what do you plan to be celebrating? These are not difficult questions, guys.
I know. Okay. So we're almost at 2,000 subscribers, so 5,000 subscribers.
Excellent.
I know that seems like a lot, though. I mean,
I love it. That's a good. I like it, Chris. That's a good goal.
Okay.
Actual subscribers,
not goal.
Jim, are you good with that goal, or do you want to add?
I am. No, and I think we have a second channel, Men About the House. We'd like to see that one get to.
That's a goal. Yeah, to get that monetized.
Get that monetized. Let's see what else is some good goals.
This has really become a consultation call for you, Deb.
I can't turn it off, so it's fine.
No, but it's good because the viewers and listeners, this exercise that we're going through the Deb method is what is laid out in these books, and so you're seeing it live. And happening, and you're seeing like the steam coming out of my ears as I try to think of,
but
my
Chris,
wins.
You think too. I mean, we didn't necessarily put it as a goal, but something that it's kind of like we got back on the horse is the show itself, right? We've been much more consistent. We're starting to see, because of that, we're getting more guests. We're getting more
guests
awareness.
Like Deb Eckerling.
Yes. But I think sometimes it's like we kind of, I won't say we forgot about it, but we let other things get in the way. And so I think, the goal of like, hey, we gotta stick to this, otherwise it's kind of like, why have a show if you're not going to actually have guests and do things? I think that's been good for both of us. I think we definitely have been a lot more active in that. We've had some great guests. Deb, as well, being here is great. And we've got some other ones coming down the pike already. So, we actually have to work with our calendar, right? We have to say, wait, we got to make sure we don't have 5 people show up in the same week or the same day.
No, that would be my show when I bring in 3 people at once. So, but that's not this. But that's
so Deb, go ahead.
I was going to say, but that's the thing. It's and this is the thing about goals, right? Especially with things that are your passion projects or additional things that you're doing to build your business or your persona, your thought leadership, whatever. They're great and they're fun. We cannot do everything. We like to think we can, but we also, it's important to be realistic. So when you're thinking about what you want to accomplish, you really need to look at your calendar, because if you've got a big, heavy client week, you're not going to have as much time to work on the book that you want to write or developing future podcast episodes or whatever. But the following week, maybe you've got more time. And then what you want to do is look at your calendar, schedule what you can accomplish without overwhelming yourself, and just keep moving forward.
We'll get right back to the show, but first, I wanted to tell you about the School of Podcasting, the #1 place to learn about podcasting, brought to you by the amazing Podcast Hall of Famer, Dave Jackson. I'm a member, and it's a fantastic place for podcast courses, a super helpful podcast community, and unlimited, that's right, unlimited podcast coaching. The link to check it out is here in the show notes, or you can head on over to sop.dealcasters.live and tell Dave that Dealcasters sent you. Now back to the show. So are you a fan of time blocking?
I am, but even more than time blocking, I am a fan of drafting. So you look at your calendar and say like, okay, I've got a busy week, but I think I can do like 3 half-an-hour sessions to work on whatever, right? So you put those things in your calendar, and then the trick is if you have to move them, you can move them, but you cannot delete them. And then after you've done that work time, write down what you accomplished. So at the end of the week or the month, when you're like, I'm not getting anywhere, you can go into your calendar and say, oh, I did this, this, and this. I'm doing pretty well. So it's important to block time. But it's really important to figure out what works for you, because you're going to do more of that. And that's really, it leads into the new book, which is 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, How to Stay Focused, Grow Your Network, and Get More Done in Less Time. And the whole premise of the book is the secret to success is there is no one secret. But what you can do is learn from others and take their different ideas out for a test drive, as it were. And it's 52 secrets, but for the book, I interviewed 60 achievers in the areas of business, tech, entertainment, food, and creative realms, asking this question: what is your secret for setting goals and or getting goals? And so the book is divided. It's in 7 chapters. Let me see if I can get them right in order. Focus, well-being, action, networking, communication, productivity, and leadership and teamwork. So I took in, like I said, it's 52 secrets, but I got too many in and it didn't have the heart. These are all people I interviewed. Most of them actually interviewed, but a few through email. And I didn't have the heart to turn anybody down. So we got bonus chapters, and then
everybody made the team.
Everybody made the team. I am all about the participation trophy.
But you only asked the all-stars, so it's all great content. It's not like I gotta let this Jim Fuse guy in here. Or whatever.
For the next one, it is just in my mind. It is a series. I'll let chicken soup for the soul, right? Because there's secrets to everything. And everybody in the book is either someone I know, someone I've interviewed, someone I'm friends with, which actually makes them like all the above. Or some of the people said, oh, you really need to talk to so-and-so because I want to know what they do. Or in the case, so Guy Kawasaki wrote the afterword, and I went on this mission because I really wanted him for my book. And I asked somebody, Bryn Tillman, I said, okay, Bryn, who else needs to be in this book? And she said, well, Larry Levine, who actually was
Selling from the Heart.
Yeah, he was on Gold Chat with Jim recently. And Jim and Larry made we know each other. And then I believe he was on your show as well, which is just because the world's tiny. But what Bryn said was, you need Larry for your book. And Larry just interviewed Guy Kawasaki. So after you interview Larry, see if he can make an intro, which he gave me the right contact. They responded within 12 hours for me to interview Guy, and his tip ended up being the afterword for the book. So it's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
But I love that I know everybody in the book, and they're all friends of Deb of the giving sphere. And I was saying, okay, if you have an intro for me, they need to have two things. They need to be someone I'd be friends with, and they need to have a giving spirit. But it was also kind of redundant because those are the people that I'm friends with. Anyway, it just evolved into this wonderful project. So Mondays, I host the Gold Chat Live show, which I was just talking about, where I bring in 3 people. And unless it's on purpose, they don't know each other before they get into the conversation. So this book is 60 people. Some know each other, some don't. Other people are reading the book and are like, Deb, I didn't realize you knew this person too. So that part is fun as well. But the idea is, okay, this worked for me, and here's an example, or here's a bit of instruction. And it's like choose your own adventure. What advice do I need? Is it for this particular category, or just go through the contents and be like, ooh, this sounds like something I need to know right now, and then read it, take it for a spin, and see if it works for you.
And Deb, you came up with a name for that stack of books behind you. We gotta share that with everyone.
Oh, the Tower of Deb. Yes, it is the Tower of Deb.
That's awesome.
Because why not name everything after me? If I'm doing a webinar,
Absolutely.
It's a webinar.
Well, you are a media personality, so that's that you need things like Towers of Deb. That's I love the concept for the book, Deb, and it's not. I think it's one thing to write a book and just sit down and do that. It's something that, sure, call it a goal of mine maybe at some point. But there's been a number of people that have created these compilation books or whatever. And really, it's
mine's different.
Kind of feels... Yeah, I'm getting there. It kind of feels all over the place. This sounds to me like this is incredibly tactical, where it's like I'm struggling with this in particular, and they can go right to it. They can go right to particular chapters that address these types of things. So it feels like it's not just you can read it cover to cover, but it's like earmark this because I've got this issue, and then let's come back to this. Is that how it's intended to do? Almost like it's a reference book for people?
Yes. Okay. And one of the people who gave me an early endorsement said, you could read this book. You could pick up the book and put it down, but I couldn't put it down. I kept wanting to read one more tip, learn one more thing. So I love that. I think the intention of the book really is the premise. There's no secret to success. What works for one person may work for you, may not. And I think, Jim, you and I have known each other for years, and I'm sure you're very familiar with, do this thing and you're going to make lots of money. That drives me crazy, right? You see these gurus who are like, no, you need to do this thing. No, we are all in this together. We all have things to offer. It wouldn't be great to put a bunch of coal mines in one place. And for these, I have my opinions on compilation books. If it is something that you're involved with, if you want to be published, if that business model works for you, go ahead. This is not that. This was very targeted. And one of the other things is the live show really came as a result of your goal guide, and then it evolved into this book. So Your goal guide came out in January 2020, as I said, 6 weeks before the world imploded. Oh, and then this one comes out in January 2025, when we're probably the most angsty that we've ever been.
That's a good one.
Is that a nice way to put it? Where everybody's facing challenges. Yeah. So great. No, I'm not going to stop writing books just because things happen when my books come out. Anyway, my point being, your goal guide came out. I was doing a book tour, a lot of events, and then bam, everything shut down. And my publisher Mango said, do you want to start a live show? Based on, at the time, I'd been doing the Gold Chat Twitter chat for a few years. It has since been sunsetted, but every Sunday night, I would go on Twitter and check in with people, and then we would do a chat about the topic of the week. And my publisher said, have you thought about doing a live show? And actually, I had. So it was a really easy yes. And Gold Chat started out, the first 2 episodes were just me talking. They went like 10 or 15 minutes. It was not a good podcast model for me. And so I started doing interviews. And then the end of 2020, I'm like, okay, great. I want to do like a holiday party. But how do you do a holiday party when you can't leave the house? You bring together people who don't know each other. So that's when I started playing with the panel format. And I loved it so much. I kept, every few episodes, I would do a panel. And then by spring, that was my show.
We'll get right back to the show, but first I wanted to tell you about Stream Like a Boss with the amazing Tanya Smith. Whether you're a coach, consultant, or creator, Tanya's got that magic to turn your live streaming skills into a powerful lead generation engine, transforming those chirping crickets into cash-paying clients with a revolutionary boss framework. The link to check it out is here in the show notes, or you can head on over to streamlikeaboss.tv. Hey, and tell Tanya that Dealcasters sent you. Now back to the show.
And again, it was bringing people together who, unless it was on purpose, did not know each other to chime in on the topic of the week. So every Monday at 4, I go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And it's, like I said, it's so much fun. Not just for me, obviously, because I like talking, but the people in the conversations. And for January and February, all the panels are all people who are featured in the book. And some of them I did bring together. I will do recurring panels if one is really like they have so much more to say together. I will do a repeat. And I've been doing this. I do December New Year's because I told you I did.
Because of course you do.
Of course I do.
Yes, because you can.
So I start the new year twice. I start in December and then the traditional way. And I always do say, for me, goals is year round. I only talk about goals in January because it would be really odd if I didn't, because everybody else is doing it, right? Like, okay.
Right.
Anyways, so even the panel I did yesterday, which was on well-being, and in it I had Heather Ecker, who is an artist and a synthesist, a color expert, Elaine Hall, who's an activist and founder of the Miracle Project, which is based in LA, but it is she's a advocate for neurodivergent individuals. She started this theater program. It's amazing. I could tangent about that for 20 minutes. I will not. And Dr. Michael Lennox, who is an astrologer and dream expert and all sorts of things. And these 4 people, and 2 of them are in the well-being chapter. So Elaine and Michael, and then Heather is in focus. And I'm like, these are just the people you want to bring together to talk about well-being and taking care of yourself when the world is imploding. And it was great. They're like, and I love when I get these responses. It was really nice sharing time with you, which is the point of the show. It's not just, well, it's of course to inform people, but to make connections within the group. And I love it when I see people on each other's shows. So
it's such an underrated part of doing a show, of doing a podcast, is the networking aspect of it. And people don't talk about how much fun it is or can be, right? If you want to do a boring show, then just get in line with all these other people. But if you want to do a fun show like Deb's show, or this one, I would hope is fun. But you just have to, you got to, in order for you to use, everyone wants to talk about community. You're actually building one because you're building on top of one that you already have, because you're interested in bringing these interesting people together that have these common goals, no pun intended there, but have these common goals, and you're not, there's nothing divisive about it. Right? It doesn't feel like it's like you people don't know each other, right? So let's come together and get to know each other live in this kind of situation, and then who knows what that sparks and where things grow. Jim, I know you had a question.
Yeah, and I think what you talk about segues well into this, Chris. So Deb, part of what you talked about in the book is about networking, and even when you look at how we've gotten to know each other. We've known each other, like you said, since 2018, back in the days of Twitter Smarter and Gold Chat, and you've been on the Tim and Jim show. I've been on Gold Chat as well. But when the world kind of went crazy back in 2020, to me it changed how I network. And so, what did you take from these folks in the book about how has networking changed? Because I think, to Chris's point, you're bringing people together virtually. You really are. And, you're on the opposite coast from us. We're on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast, but yet we still are able to connect. And I think Chris and I both sometimes talk about it's a struggle to go out and network, because you feel like, am I really, and I mean in-person networking, because sometimes it's like, how much effort do I have to go, or am I in the wrong room for that?
I think we also need to take back the word networking. I mean, it's the word we all use, but it's relationship development. And the people that you meet, they're not necessarily your audience or your clients or whatever, but everybody knows people. So the more people you know, the more people you know. The more people in your tribe, they're in your tribe as well. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. The main thing that happened with the pandemic is this, which was natural for the three of us, even before, became a necessity for everybody else. So people needed to learn to communicate over the computer. And now it's second nature. And even though there are in-person events aplenty, now we get to talk from two sides of the country like it's nothing. And that can't be discounted. It used to be you would meet people in real life and then continue conversations online. Now I think it's more the other way around, is you meet people online, and then maybe if you're fortunate, you'll meet them in person. I think in the book, and I wrote it down exactly, but maybe a quarter of the people are people that I've met in real life, in person.
Wow.
But the rest are all conversations developed from people. I also do a food podcast, Taste Buds with Deb. So that's why we have chefs in here as well. So so you have to get a little bit of everything, and different types of personalities. I've got actors, TV executives. I've got influencers galore in this, consultants, and they're all they're all good people, or else they would not be in my book. But they all have a different perspective on things. And for me, one of the most fun things was when I got the proof to read the book in December. It was the first December. It was the first time I had read it cover to cover, because when I put the book together, it was a puzzle, which is what goals are, which is what I excel at. But writing the intro, your goal guide is the DEB method. So the first half of the book goes through the process, and the second half of the book is strategies for success. And then there are worksheets and resources for 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting. It's an appendix. It's like the last appendix in the book. The second appendix is DEB Method 101. But the crux of the book is giving people relatable stories and relatable individuals who share what works for them, which was everything from be able to look yourself in the mirror to always dream harder. So never dream harder than you work, right? Because you need to back up who you are with what you do. Both of those came from chefs, by the way. Chef Rossi, who's based in New York, is the one who said, be able to look yourself in the mirror. And Chef Katie Jin is the one who said, never dream harder than you work, because you want this life. Great. Do the things and you get to have this life. And no, we don't have control over everything, but we can find something that we love, that we enjoy, and it could be a hobby, it can be an extension of the business. Do that a little bit each day and let that joy leak over to the parts of your life that don't bring you as much happiness. And guess what? It's going to be a lot better, right?
Yeah. Speaking of happiness, you're bringing lots of happiness to the show here, Deb. This is fun. Let's pause for a second and let everybody know that the book is available here on Amazon. It's called 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. And you too can have a tower of Deb behind you with as many books as you'd like to purchase on Amazon. Unlock your path to success for professional and personal goals. We'll get right back to the show, but first I wanted to tell you about Social Media News Live. Jeff C. and his amazing guests will keep you up to date on what's happening in this entire changing world of social media. They talk with industry experts and innovators and creators about the latest social media news, tips, and tactics, and they broadcast live, so you can ask the questions that matter most to you and your business. Jim and I love this show, and we know that you will too. Head over to socialmedianewslive.com. Hey, tell them Dealcasters sent you. Now back to the show. I want to get a little tactical if we could, and we could use some of these things that are either in the book. We'll let you kind of go wherever on this. But you started talking about the calendar, and let's some things are attainable, right? And you can move them, but you can't delete the sort of the time blocking, all that calendar things. Do you or maybe someone in the book have any sort of strategies incorporating a lot? I mean, there's tons of AI stuff out there. There's tons of software programs and things like that can help. And I like to lean on those things to kind of like, I struggle with this, but if you do this particular thing with ChatGPT or this particular program allows me to do some of these things a little bit more easily. What is your take on, incorporating AI into goal setting?
I think of AI the same way I think of SMART goals. Some people love SMART goals. They are a tool. They are not a destination. AI is the same thing. They are a tool. If you've got, if you want to say to ChatGPT, I am not opposed to this. If you want to say to ChatGPT, I need to build a website. What are the steps I need to take? I'm okay with that. If you want to brainstorm that yourself, that works too. So as long as you look at it as something that's a helper, because you're not going to say, hey, ChatGPT, build me a website. Doesn't work that way. Then you can't do that. But if you need a little bit of a help figuring out the steps you need to take to do certain things, yeah, I am definitely okay with that.
Yeah, I think utilizing it as like an assistant, right? And you have to do it, but I mean, I feel sometimes, especially since every day you wake up and there's 16 new, AI things that help you, do your laundry and walk your dog and everything else, right? And so you could kind of get stuck in that mire too of, you have things to do but you spent hours playing with all of this stuff that, you really just have to at some point, pull the plug on this and really hunker down, roll up the sleeves, and do the stuff that's necessary in order for you to attain these goals. So that's a struggle, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs is not just understanding what one AI tool is about, whether it's ChatGPT or aggregators like Magi or something like that, but like you have to know, you can't spend all this time in here and not actively start doing these things and attaining these goals.
So the publisher for Mango, Chris McKinney, also gives a tip in the book, and he comes from Silicon Valley world, the tech land, and his secret in the book is using paper for productivity. This is a tech guy, so of course I had to use paper for his secret. And apps are great. But because, as you're talking about, they have all the bells and whistles, you could spend hours just customizing something and you get nothing done. Whereas if you have paper and a pen, write your to-do list, gets done in like 2 minutes. Easy peasy.
That's true. And I think there's just something about it too. There's just something about having this notepad in front of you, whether it's, whether you're using an Apple Pen on an iPad or whatever, but there's just something more intentional about it, something more functional for the brain, as opposed to just, if, I spend most of my time when I'm at work, in front of a computer, with devices in front of me and screens. Now, if I'm going to really set myself, a goal, I feel like I need to separate myself from that, right? And maybe that's where I grab the notebook and the pen and start to do something, get some other neurons firing in this, squirrel brain of mine. I don't know.
Well, I am and I think Jim knows this about me. We've had enough conversations. I am this huge fan of journaling. And journaling and brainstorming, it's all over your goal guide. I mentioned before, there are a lot of exercises, and the purpose is to get you to pause for a second, really think about who you are, what you want to create. And the first draft of everything, why not put it on paper? And if you are not the type of person who is comfortable writing things down, apparently there are people like that, then type it. If that's the only way you're going to get those words out of your head is using a keyboard, that's fine as well. But we try so hard to figure things out in our head. We just rearrange the furniture in our brains, and that's where a cartoon, in my case, I guess we could. But when you write things down, you could have an objective look at what you need to put together and make a plan. It's much easier.
Yeah. I think I have to know this. You're just so passionate about this. What is, years ago when you started doing this, what sparked the passion in you to be, to be Deb, the goddess of goals here?
I love that question so much. So years ago, and I lived in LA for over 25 years, so do whatever math you want. Back when I lived in Chicago, I was doing events for Barnes & Noble and Schomburg. And whenever I needed to fill my calendar, I would hang out in the cafe because I really wanted it to be a community bookstore. And one day, one of my regulars said, "Hey, Deb, will you start a writer support group?" And I said, "If you think people will show up, yeah, let's give it a try." And for me, that meant, okay, everybody, what did you accomplish? What are you working on? How can we support you? And what are your goals for next time? And it was a hit, and it also showed me the power of goals, because I would never ask them to do something that I wasn't prepared to do myself. So I would set a goal for each meeting. So fast forward, moved to LA, restarted the group here. And then people would say, "Deb, you're good at this. I've been trying to write my book for years. Can I hire you to help me get it done?" We got it done in 3 months. Or, "Deb, you're good at this. Will you come speak at my event?" So that was really how it evolved from this fun group into something I did. And my business background is communications and project management. So everything's kind of in alignment there. And then so I've been leading workshops and, being on my little goal soapbox for a while. And then in 2018, my main communications client was going away. And to me, that felt like an opportunity. And my mom said to me, "You hate SMART goals. Why don't you create Deb goals?" And it turned out that my name worked the same, was perfect for the system that I had been teaching. And so that is how I became me.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. Yeah. And because I mean, I had to pause there and been like, you are just like smoking. I mean, I was like, because typically it's like, you've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of podcasts and talked about this, and you are just as excited as this was the first time. And it's, and that just shines through. I thought that was awesome. And I think something you touched there on that I'd love to kind of get your insight on is, when it comes to goals, accountability is huge. Like when you're, Jim and I work together on this thing, right? And we set goals together, right? But there's masterminds and there's other people on your team or whatever. And when you're setting a goal and that the meeting's coming up, right? And Deb's gonna ask you where you're at with this. It's almost like a little like, okay, this is coming. I'm accountable for this. Can you talk a little bit about accountability?
Well, and I have had clients who email me 2 minutes before our meetings with our deliverables. So yes, that is a thing. So I also have on Facebook, I've got the Write On Online Facebook group, and every day I post a new thread. So Monday is, what are your plans to network this week? Yes, I mentioned this. Tuesday, what are your goals for the week? Thursday is Toot Your Horn Thursday. What's your biggest win? Photo Friday and weekend plans. So these are all opportunities to share what you're working on and or what you've accomplished. I remember in the early days, so it was a group and then Facebook made everything become a page. And then years later, I did another group. But I remember at the beginning, a lot of times people would either say what their goals were or say what they accomplished, but rarely did the same person do both. But that's fine as well, right? So you can, and you can vague book all you want. I want to work an hour on my project this week, or I'm going to get these synopsis done for my book, or write this section of the book proposal, or I'm going to cook something new. They could be personal goals as well. Or at the end of the week, it's like, oh, I did this or I did that. And what's great is it gives this forum in particular gives people an opportunity. Oh, that's so cool. They do this. Or, oh, you just published a book on this. I'm really interested to learn more. So not only does it give you an opportunity to share what you're working on, it gives you opportunities to make connections with others in the group.
We're going to get right back to the show, but first I wanted to introduce you to the amazing Cloudlifter CL1 from Cloud Microphones. This amazing little blue box boosts your dynamic podcast mic signal for pristine audio quality in just seconds. Jim and I love ours, and you can snag one of these CL1s or new Cloudlifter X's for yourself from the links in the show notes below. Elevate your audio content with the Cloudlifter. Now, back to the show. I love that. And so speaking of the group, and you did this at the beginning when you were introduced, you held up some gold stars. You held up a gold star. So there's something about these gold stars in your group. Is that a motivational technique? What do you got?
When I had that first group when I was at the bookstore, one day someone said, "Where's my gold star?" They were kidding, but I thought it was a great idea. So I brought these packets of stars, and I think you can buy all gold stars, but the ones that I found were different colors. So you can get a gold star for accomplishing what you set out, but you could pick whatever color gold star. I know it's a color, it's not gold, but whatever. You could take whatever color star you want for effort. So when I lead workshops in person, I always start out by passing the stars around the room because they've chosen themselves. They're being present, they're choosing their goals. They get a gold star because that is an accomplishment. And when the pandemic hit, those stars are tiny, and I found that I had these sticky notes. So, that's that story.
Wow. So Deb, what do you see? What is your next goal now that you've had these 2 books out?
Oh my goodness. It's the same goal is to be the first person to think of when they hear the word goal. If you Google goal setting expert, and I mean no disrespect, it is like the old guard of men, which is fine.
Oh.
But there's room for me. So I'm working on that mantle. So that and just spreading the word about the book, as I said before, I would love for this to be a series. So if you have a secret that works for you, please reach out. You never know. Could end up in a future book. But right now, I think my main goal is to keep spreading this word. Goal is not just a 4-letter word. People think 4-letter words and they think, but it's a magical word. When you set goals, you are taking control of your life. You're saying, this is a priority. This is what I'm going to do to work towards it so I get to this reality that I want. And why shouldn't we all live this life we desire? We've got the control. I mean, we can sit and doom scroll. We could be depressed about what's going on around us. And, it's okay. I also have this thing, the 2-minute rule. So I am a big fan of 2-minute dance breaks. If you're going through a rough day, you get 2 minutes and you could freak out and then, a dance break and then you're back to normal, whatever configuration of it is, right? Sometimes the 2-minute time blocking gives you a lot of power, but with everything that's going on in the world, yes, if you need a couple minutes to freak out, take your couple minutes, but then say, okay, great. What am I going to do now that I can celebrate this moving me forward to achieving that life that I want?
Chris, do you do 2-minute music breaks? I know you like music as a part of your life.
I like to, it's a creative juice for me. So, like when I have something that I know I've got to power down and work, like a presentation or something like that, I actually would put on John Coltrane, Love Supreme, or I'll put on something that I know kind of, it gets the neurons firing. It isn't my 16th cup of coffee. It's something that's going. It gives me my creative energy. And I run to that. That's a way for me to just get out and get into something and listen to something that's more entertaining than informative, I guess, in terms of podcasting when I go for a run. And so those are things that kind of keep me, because I know when I get back in and, get out of the shower and sit down, it's like, it's hunker down time, so but, how do you keep someone like in the case of me and probably other people, like I'm saying that, but I don't do it every day, and if things get busy and things start to pile on you, you're doing less and less and less and less of that. Do you recommend things like the Pomodoro timers or anything that might work for them? I know you said it, things depend on people differently, but maybe what are some methods or success stories you've heard from maybe people that have contributed to the book or other people you've worked with?
I have something I call the 5 of 7 rule, because I don't think it's realistic to work towards your goals every day. And we've all seen, don't break the chain. You want to do these things every day. We have life going on. It is not realistic. So even if you say, I'm going to do this every day for 15 minutes, you skip Sundays. So then you're like, okay, half an hour on Monday, 45 minutes on Tuesday. If you did not have 15 minutes on Sunday, you do not have an hour on Wednesday. That's why I say, look at your calendar and see if it's a 3 15-minute appointments a week. You just put it in the thing. And I know I talked about tracking before. Something else that I think is also helpful is to keep a win list. So at the end of the day, write down 1 to 3 wins. And I have developed, I used to say, just do a Google sheet or do a this or write in your journal or whatever it is. The methodology I like for tracking wins now is like at the beginning of the month, I will set an appointment for 6 p.m. that says, January 2025 wins or February 2025 wins, obviously adapt to whatever month it is, right? So you get a reminder when the alert goes off that it's your win appointment. You write down your 1 to 3 things and then you save it as the next day. And then you get the reminder again. And that way you've got all your wins at a glance. So on those days where you need that lift, you can look and say, I did these things. Go me. Let me keep going.
I love it. I love the inspiration that doing that. You've mentioned this a couple of times. Is celebrating these wins and doing that. So Deb, I have 3 goals for every day.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
This is okay. Here we go. Jim already kind of mentioned one. Listen to music is definitely a big one for me. It's just in my DNA. It's just I love it. Number 2 is to create more than I consume. And for me, I think you talked about doom scrolling, right? And I think a lot of that, let's learn how to do this video editing thing, or let's learn how to do this thing in AI. Let's learn how to do these. And you're watching and you're consuming all of this stuff. But what are you doing? Like, what are you creating with it? And so I that's another thing for me. So I have to figure out a way. Well, when I get to the end of the day, did I consume more than I created, or did I create more than I consume? And the third one is I have to make my wife laugh. That's the third one. That's a goal. If I get to the end of the day and I haven't made my wife laugh, I'm resorting to tickling. That's not a good day. I got to make her laugh.
First of all, thank you for sharing that, and I love that. And this is really like the genesis of how the book came about. So I was talking to my editor, Brenda, and we always would say, what are the things? What are your rules? What are the things that you do that enable you to be more productive? And I do this when working with clients as well. It's like, you got your goals. Great. What are the things that you're going to do to make sure you get them done? Write them down, put them on the wall, look at them. So you're making progress. So it's I want to say in your face. That sounds so negative and non-Deb, but you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. And when you see it, it's a reminder of what you're trying to create. The other thing, because you were talking about music, that I wanted to add. So the D is determine your mission. So it's visualize, write your current bio, write your future bio, write your mission statement, and then distill it into a motto. So I mentioned before, mine is goal setting simplified. So everything I do is in alignment with that. But it can be a phrase, it could be a tagline, it could be a theme song, something that gives you energy and reminds you about what you're creating. And these are the things you need to surround yourself with, so you're keeping your eye on the prize. Whatever you can to help you move forward, do more of that, because that's what's going to get you where you want to go.
We're going to get right back to the show, but first I wanted to tell you about the game changer for your audio setup. Of course, it's the one and only Shure SM7B microphone. This iconic beauty is a go-to for top-notch podcasts. You've seen it on stream. It's the perfect microphone for any environment. You don't need a fancy studio. It's got built-in protection that handles background noise like a pro. Jim and I love ours, and you can level up your audio game today. Just check out the show notes for the links. Now back to the show. Deb, you're awesome. This has been a great conversation, and I wanted to make mention one more time, folks that are listening either on the replay or currently alive. The book on Amazon is called 52 Secrets for Goal Setting. Yeah, I talk for a living. And goal getting. I'm not a media personality yet, Deb. Unlock your path to success for professional and personal goals. And we never even touched it. We talked about nothing but professional for the most part, but like this applies to personal goals. And what the other thing I love about this, Deb, is it really applies to so many people in so many different industries. Like the whole time you're talking, I'm like, well, our audience is a lot of content creators, a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners, and so it applies. And then I'm thinking, well, this applies to my wife. And she doesn't care about any of this stuff, and it really works and is evergreen for a lot of people. Congratulations on this. We can't wait for the next one.
And don't forget about the last one.
Oh, your goal guide. We are not going to forget about that. Wow, I almost got in trouble. Did you see that, Jim? I almost got in trouble for that. Your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, written back in 2020 before the world ended, but still applies today.
I love the fact that the work that I do is evergreen, and I really appreciate what you said before about how it applies to everybody, because we all know The worst thing you can answer when someone says, who is your audience? The worst answer is everyone. But unfortunately, that is me. So I say busy professionals, but it's everyone, right? Because who isn't busy?
Pretty much.
But the personal goals are so important because they work hand in hand with the professional ones. Because we know when your personal life's going great, it's going to reflect on your professional life, and the vice versa is true. So if you cannot change your professional situation, think about what you can do to make your personal life better, so that makes you happier, and that's going to leak over onto the other side. And maybe it's your personal life is challenging. Make sure that that you're doing the things that you love at least a little bit every day, because that energy is going to help you deal with the other things that you have to in your life.
Yep. Wow.
Awesome. Great stuff. Deb, thank you so much for joining. And our show got better today because of you, and we do appreciate that. And I hope you sell a gazillion books.
Thank you.
And just great stuff. You are a joy, and this has been a fantastic conversation, and I hope we have many more. Anyway, so for those of you who have not gotten the book yet, what are you waiting for? And as always, don't fear the gear.
Thanks for listening to Dealcasters. Congratulations, you've taken another step forward in your content creation journey. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button here in your favorite podcast player so you can be reminded every time we drop an episode.
We love hearing from our listeners and viewers. And if you're wanting to watch our shows live on Amazon, feel free to follow Dealcasters Live as well at dealcasters.live.
Follow us on Twitter or subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we also included added content that you cannot find anywhere else.
If you have questions about this episode or have something you want us to review, you can also email us at dealcasters@dealcasters.live. Thanks again for listening, and you know the deal. Don't fear the gear.